Okay, we are back with our gnomish necromancer, Yorick McGarron, about to explore the Energon Matrix. Before we do that, I realized I made a mistake when last we were playing. Not in terms of explaining the game, but in terms of being a decent player. And if anybody knows how to play the game at all, they'll realize I was an idiot, and I don't want them saying I didn't address it. You'll remember I said as soon as you enter a new map, your spell points regenerate all the way to full. Now in that last map we were running around, it did cross my mind maybe to run up to that brigand and cast a few flaming darts at it, but my flaming darts only does 6 damage maximum with a single spell, and it had, I think it had 17 health points, so the most we could have done was 12 damage. It still could have had 5 health, and I didn't even want to mess with that level of a creature, so I didn't do it. But there was obviously another very important use for our spell points if I had been smart enough to do it. Before I left the level, I should have cast Light Healing on myself a couple of times. If I had done that, my health would not now be 15 out of 30, it'd be higher up. And my spell points would still be at 40, because as soon as we come to a new map, which this qualifies as, we would have gotten all of our spell points back. So, bad Jeff. Let's hope I don't die as a result and make this a really crappy tutorial because I wasn't playing smart. The next thing I want you to notice about the new area we're in. This area, what I'm pointing at is still called a wall. This is still called empty space. You'll notice it looks different than the last place we were at. There are different textures for walls and floors. They don't change anything, it's just mixes it up once in a while, keep it graphically interesting. One other thing you're going to find very apparent in just a moment, I can tell already. If you remember that last map we were on, it was a very randomish map. It was very chaotic. There wasn't a lot of logic to its design. This was a big open area with a few corridors that kind of went nowhere off to the sides. Those types of maps I call cavernous maps. Your first level is always a cavernous map when you start a new game, and it always has that leafy green texture, it always has that brown, bumpy earth. After that, things get mixed up. But only about 40% of the maps you encounter will be those cavernous types. The rest of them, the other 60%, will be what this one is going to prove to be, and you'll see in a second, with a much more logical layout. You know, squarish rooms, joined to other squarish rooms by corridors, so it'll make more sense. Alright, let's start looking around. We already know that's gold. That's useful. What is this? A recharge station. We had talked earlier about the possibility of finding wands, staves, and rods, and if we do so, wands, staves, and rods, they come with a set number of charges in them. Think of it as like battery power. Every time you use the wand, staff, or rod, it drops 1 level of charge. When it has no charges, just like if a weapon had no condition, or 0 condition, when a wand, staff, or rod has no charges, you can't use it anymore. But if you carried a wand, staff, or rod to a recharge station, like this one, you could then use the recharge station to power that wand, staff, or rod back up. They only work once each, so you can only power up 1 staff or rod, but it'll bring them all the way back up to 6 charges, which is the maximum any of those things can have in them. Also, incidentally, I realized what the skill was I had messed up in my very first tutorial here, and in my programming, because the character creation menu claimed different numbers for what wand lore, the stats wand lore provides you. I think it mentioned there that I had a 75% chance because I had basic wand lore. I had a 75% chance of getting any wand to work. The actual number is a 50% chance with basic wand lore. If I had untrained wand lore, that would be a measly 25% chance. So I was experimenting with the way wand lore worked at some point and didn't update the character creation. So the good thing is I'm learning a lot of mistakes I've made in the programming by doing this tutorial. Let's start walking around. I can already hear an Energon and I can see an Energon. Now remember, we're in an Energon Matrix, a layer belonging to Energons, so the only monsters we can possibly encounter are Energons. We already know they're relatively weak. You can take a look at the stats. There's nothing to fret about. It does have 100% resistance to electricity. If I was flinging lightning bolts at it or something, that would matter, but I'm not, so who cares? Let's go kill it. And it's dead, nice and easy. You'll also notice it didn't leave a corpse behind, unlike those grublings. Most of the incorporeal, more ethereal monsters don't leave behind a visible corpse. There might technically be an invisible corpse there of the Energon. The only reason that matters is if you say you went here and cast Animate Dead, it might animate a dead guy for you. I don't remember if that's the case or not. What is this? Papers. The papers are exactly like objects. If you remember in the last map we encountered a couple of those shields with crossed swords. We picked them up, they turned out to be potions, I think. But in this case, papers are exactly the same, but they'll always be a paper type object. And the things called objects, the squares we saw called objects, will never be a paper type item. They're everything but paper. Papers are paper only, i.e. it could be a book, it could be some sort of tome that teaches you a new skill, some sort of spell book, it could be a scroll, it could be a map, we don't know. But just like objects, it could also be a booby trap, and because I was so stupid and didn't raise my health before I came here, I'm not going to risk it right now. I may come back for that later, but for now I'm going to leave that alone just in case it's a booby trap. I don't want to die early and provide you a really crappy tutorial here. I'm going to head up here and see what's up here. I'm not going to pick up the gold for now. No real reason not to. Oh, hey, interesting. The only reason I'm not doing it is just in case I bumped into something that could steal my gold from me. I don't think I'm going to. There used to be gremlins early on in the game. They don't exist right now. They're temporarily removed to be added back in later. And I don't think I'm going to encounter any brigands. But gremlins and brigands can both steal your gold from you, and I don't want to be carrying it. This is a weapon merchant. Now, we met that damsel, or we almost met that damsel. We met the fake damsel, the succubus disguising herself as a damsel on the last level. But there are, as I said, friendly characters in the maze, and this is one of them, a weapon merchant. This guy will sell you weapons. There are no monsters that disguise themselves as weapon merchants, so I can say with absolute assurance that is a weapon merchant, and I'm going to walk on him to show you what he does. Let's step on him. Slow down, buddy. There we go. If I step on him, it gives me the option of using his wares if I want to. Peruse weapon merchant's wares. Yes, we want to. And when we do that, it calls up this new shopping screen. There's some text up here, some flavor text. Good day to you, newcomer, or is it night? I have the finest weaponry available in these blasted caverns. Don't miss out on what may be your best shot at survival. That's just changes every time you meet merchants. But down here you can see what weapons he actually has for sale. You can see he has 6 of them. Not every merchant you meet will have 6 items. They could only have 1, but I think 6 is the maximum any merchant will ever have. And just like anything else, if I point at the weapon in question, it comes up over there, so I can find out what it is being offered. Now remember, I have no gold, I have no gems, so I technically can't afford any of this. And if I try to get it, which I'll try in a minute, it'll tell me I don't have enough gold. But it's nice to know what he has for sale, because that way when I'm walking around later and thinking, do I want to go back and buy something, I'll know what I'm saving up for. The first thing he has for sale is a pitchfork, and the good news is we already know completely what that does. We got one right here. Ours is only at 88% condition, his is at 100%, as all weapons merchants start out as. But we don't need it for the time being anyway, ours is pretty good. What's the next thing here, though? A hatchet. A hatchet, as you can see, is a light weapon, so technically, according to our weapon use skill, just like the pitchfork, we're allowed to use it. But you'll note its strength required is 30, we have strength 20, so even if we purchase this, we are not strong enough to swing it in combat yet. It would just be taking up inventory space for no reason for the time being. But you can see a bit about what this type of weapon does. If you remember, our pitchfork has a +6 to hit. The hatchet has a -15 to hit. It's actually harder to hit with a hatchet than it is to hit with your bare hands. That being said, when you do hit, it does 1 to 12 damage versus the pitchfork, which only does 1 to 3. So it does a lot more damage, it's just harder to hit with in the first place. Like the pitchfork, it takes up 1 inventory slot. Below that, we have a heavy stick of giant hunting, but before I explain that, I'm going to talk about this heavy stick, because this is a normal heavy stick. Very similar to the hatchet, you can see it's a little harder to hit with than the pitchfork. It has a -6 to hit instead of a +6, but it does between 2 and 4 damage instead of 1 to 3. So more damage than the pitchfork. Its minimum damage is higher, its maximum damage is higher, but it is harder to hit with. Some of the weapons here, you'll see this one, actually all 3 of these are magical weapons. You can tell visibly because these ones have a glow behind them. You can tell visibly with this one because the weapon itself is a little bit miscolored from what a normal heavy stick is. But let's talk about this one first. The heavy stick of giant hunting. When we point at it, you'll see it has, next to hit mod, next to damage, it has the exact same stats that the original heavy stick had. But there's extra stats beside the slash. If you look down below condition, you'll see what this heavy stick of giant hunting does. Beyond being a standard heavy stick, it gives you +10 to hit and +50% damage to giant types. Now, if you remember, giant types is one of the 9 types of monsters we might encounter. Right there. But if you were fighting a giant type and you were using this weapon, instead of having -6 to hit, you'd actually have +4 because you had -6 because it's a heavy stick. You have +10 because you're fighting a giant using the heavy stick of giant hunting, which gives you a net of +4. Likewise, its damage, instead of being 2 to 4, would be 3 to 6 because it does 50% extra damage to giant types. And actually, now that I look at it, the Knife of Giant Hunting has the exact same enchantment on it. This one is also used in the same way. If you're fighting a giant, it gives you extra stats. Otherwise, it does a little. It's capable of doing maybe a little bit more than your pitchfork, 1 to 4 damage instead of 1 to 3, but it has no plus to hit. It's just a normal chance to hit. Down here we have a halting heavy stick. This one has a pretty interesting enchantment on it. As you can see, it has the same stats as any other heavy stick, but its enchantment has nothing to do with combat. As long as you are using this weapon, as long as you're holding it in your hand, there's a 50% chance it warns you before you drink befouled potions. Now, we talked earlier about... Can I open my inventory from here? Yes, I can. These potions, even the tiny health potion, which we've identified as a tiny health potion, could be befouled. It could be poisonous, it could be acidic, it could have a disease. We don't know. If we got our alchemy skill all the way up to expert, we'd be able to identify if it's poisonous or not, if it's befouled or not. But until that happens, or unless that happens, we have no idea if it's a problem potion or if it does what it says it'll do. If you were carrying this stick, though, if you're using the stick, if you had it equipped, there'd be a 50% chance that if you went to drink a befouled potion, the stick would wiggle in your hand, or it would glow, or it would say, "Hey, stop." It would stop you from drinking that potion. So it could be quite useful. While we're on the subject, let's look at that pitchfork I didn't mention earlier. This is how you equip and unequip an item. Just left-click it. You'll see as I unequip it, it's yellow if it's equipped, it's black if it's unequipped. And as I unequip it, my stats up here change, right? I have a 36% chance to hit while I'm using it, but only a 30% chance without, because that +6 it gives me to hit is gone. I do 1 to 3 damage and my strength bonus when I'm using it. When I'm not using it, I just do 1 damage and my strength bonus. Your fists always just do 1 damage plus your strength bonus. The color coding here does matter too. It's just a helpful reminder. Black items, if you click them, can be equipped, and they turn yellow. If they're black, they're unequipped. Blue items, you left-click them to use them, but they don't get equipped. They just, when you left-click them, they have whatever effect they're going to have. They don't then become equipped, though. In the case of these potions, when you left-clicked it, it would have its effect, and then it would disappear from your inventory because it has no more use. Brown items, on the other hand, either they have no effect whatsoever while you're carrying them, or they have their effect perpetually as long as you're carrying them. So if you had an item, some items, if it's in your inventory, even if it's not equipped, it can't be equipped, but if it's in your inventory, it has its effect. In this case, the Fine Tunic's only purpose is to be sold for money. The gray area underneath it, by the way, is just because if you look down, you'll see it is a size 2 object, average size. It takes up 2 inventory slots. The second one is just an inventory slot that's also filled with the Fine Tunic. Alright, let's keep walking around here. I don't know if I want to buy any of those things right now anyway. Over here you'll see a ward. My computer's starting to slow down again. I'm going to explain the ward, and then we're going to quit and save and come back to this. The ward is impassable to monsters. As I mentioned, walls are generally impassable to monsters, but some monsters can go through them. No monster can go through a ward, ever. However, I can pass through it, no problem. Now also remember, this guy's an NPC, a friendly character. If any monster touches him, he's dead. But hopefully no monster will get up here. It can't get past the ward anyway. It would have to come up from this this area down here. Like I said, I'm going to save the game right now because it's slowing down like crazy. Okay, and we're back. I think we just finished talking about wards, and we just finished talking about weapon merchants. Let's actually go. I mentioned I can pass over a ward, no problem, as you'll see. Another Energon. Let's kill off that bugger. Come on. Oh, I don't have my pitchfork equipped, do I? There you go. There we go. As you see, another recharge station. If you remember when we were entering this this Energon Matrix, it promised us we'd find a lot of recharge stations, and it has been true to its word. What's down here? Temple. Another paper. We've already talked about that. We know it there. I don't want to pick that one up yet either with my 15 health. More staircase down to the dungeon level 2. A curtain. Alright. Curtains. We saw a heavy door in the last map. Heavy doors can be difficult to cross, but normally a door, all you have to do is step on it and it opens up. Curtains are exactly the same thing as doors. As you can see, they block line of sight. I can't see through the curtain. It's opaque. But if I step on it, it'll be treated basically like it's empty space. The difference between a door and a curtain are severalfold. One, doors can sometimes be locked. Curtains can't be locked. Doors can really rarely, I think 1% of the time, be booby-trapped. Curtains are never booby-trapped. But the most important difference is that I mentioned earlier, a lot of monsters, like Energons, for instance, cannot walk through doors. They haven't got appendages to turn a knob. But pretty much any monster can walk through a curtain. So all it really does is block your line of sight. And as we step through it, we see there's another object on the other side. Now, just like the papers, I said I don't want to pick that up just in case it's a It's a booby trap, and actually I don't have to yet. I'm going to head up here. Otherwise I'd have to step... If I want to keep going this direction, I have to step on that object, and if it's a booby trap, I'll trigger it. But, oh, there's an Energon. Alright, 10 more experience points. And I speak of the devil, or the door. Here's a door, and in this case a locked door. I can tell it's locked because it has that lock pad on it, graphically. I can also tell because when I point at it, it gives me locked door over here. As I said, a normal door I could just step on, but a locked door I can't pass through as is. There's two ways I can get through a locked door, but before I even talk about that, I want to call your attention back to the chests we talked about on the previous level. I mentioned they can be locked as well. Lots of things can be locked. Containers, doors, yes, but also chests, desks, vaults, that sort of thing. Now, in the case of the chest, the only way, if a chest had been locked, those chests in the previous level were not, the only way I could get them open would be by using a lock-picking skill, a rogue skill. If you're untrained in lock-picking skill and you find a locked chest, it really has no effect. You can't get at the contents. Early on in programming, I allowed you to bash open the locks, but I realized it made lock-picking skill really useless, so you can't do that anymore. That being said, doors are a different matter. Doors you can also pick the lock if you have lock-picking skill. But you can also bash them open if you need to, and the reason for that is because if it designed a map for you, and you started behind a locked door and you had no lockpicking skill, that would be game over. So rather than screw the player over, I allow you to bash down locked doors. But we'll talk about bashing them down after we talk about picking the lock. If we had lockpicking skill and we tried to enter here, it would use the lockpicking skill to try to pick the lock. And if it was successful, the lock would disappear and I could enter this square like a normal door. If it failed, either nothing would happen, I could try again, or it would jam the lock, in which case you'd see a red X over the lock, and I would no longer have any choice but to bash the door down. As it is, we don't have lockpicking skill, so if I want to get through this door, I'm going to have to bash it. I'm not going to try. But as you can see, if you read the text, or certainly just read the bottom red text, my chance of bashing this lock off are 6% every time I try. The reason it's so low is because my strength is so low. I'm a weak little man trying to break a lock with his bare hands, or with his body more to the point. And every time I try, if I fail, I'm going to take 1 point of damage for throwing myself against that door. So I'm not going to do that. This, you know, I might be able to do it, but it could damage me a lot, and for that matter, this could be a risk. But you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to head down next to this object, and I am going to drink my health potion. Normally I wouldn't. My experience is close to 300, and once it hits 300, I'm actually going to level up, and when I level up, I'll get all my health back. But I don't want to risk this being you know, some sort of problem, so I'm going to drink a health potion right now. It's by left-clicking it, and there you see, I got 6 health points back. My computer's slowing down again. I figured out what it is, by the way. When I paused this to see what the problem was, I ran the last video. If I run one of those videos and then try to keep recording, it crashes on me. So I'm going to save one more time, and I'm going to come back, and next time I come back, I'm not going to run one of those videos. Okay, here we are again. Hopefully we're not going to get more slowdowns. We'll find out soon enough, I guess. It occurs to me, instead of drinking that potion, I could have used my light healing spell like I promised to do before to get my health up, but screw it, it's done. I'm going to do it one more time, actually, just in case. There's a spell being cast. You can see I did it. I went to the low power spells, clicked on light healing, you heard a little tinkling sound, saw some lights flash, and I got back 5 health. So now I'm in reasonably good shape. If this is a trap, hopefully I'll survive it. And it's not, so that was a lot of to do for nothing. Magic item, I find a wand of healing. And because I drank that potion, I now have an inventory slot, and the wand of healing falls right in there. While I'm talking about it, though, if I did need to free up some inventory space, if I wanted to drop something, say, I think I told you how to equip and unequip, but I didn't tell you how to drop. All you have to do is right-click any item. I'm going to do it right now in the Fine Tunic, for instance. Are you sure you want to drop the Fine Tunic? It gives me a check here. I say yes. And boom, it's gone from my inventory. Those 2 slots are freed back up. You'll also see, I'll step off it, there's a little graphic of a backpack here. That just means there are dropped items in that square, and if I go back in that square, it asks me if I want to retrieve the discarded objects. If I say yes, it lists all the objects that are there, currently only 1, and I'll click it on, I get it back, click done, we're out of that screen, and as you can see, I've got it back. So you can drop objects temporarily, you can drop objects permanently, you can do whatever you need to do to free up inventory slots as you go. This is a really crazy looking room, so let's talk all about it. The first thing I'm looking at, let's look at this shimmering door down here. I think before we entered, in addition to saying we can expect to see recharge stations, it mentioned we could expect to see a lot of magic archways, and that's exactly what this is. A magic archway, if you step on it, it'll have a random effect, and what that effect is listed right over here in the... sorry, I'm just dealing with a cat who's making a lot of strange noises. He's cool. He's sitting on a shoe. Alright, the magic arch, it has a bunch of potential effects, and just like that magic mushroom, or not magic mushroom, magic mushrooms, just like that mushroom patch we were looking at in the last level, what effect actually happens is random. In this case, though, it wouldn't give me an option. The mushroom patch, when I stepped on it, or if I had stepped on it, it would have said, do you want to eat a mushroom? In this case, I cannot even get past the square without entering the magic arch. And if I did it, it could teleport me to a random square. It could recharge my spell points all the way back up to their maximum value. It could drop them to 0. It could have all of these effects. One of the effects I'm seeing, though, is that my experience points could drop down to 0. And given I'm already more than 2/3 of the way up a level, I don't want to risk that right now. I'll do it later, maybe, if I have to. But it would really suck to lose all that experience we've been gaining. The pools are actually much the same. I actually noticed a typo here earlier. It says this gives the option of swimming once with a random effect, but I don't think it does give the option. I think if you enter that square, you've entered that square. You've basically dived into the pool, and it'll have whatever effect it has. Now again, most of these circumstances, there are positive effects, there are negative effects. In this case, though, I think the negatives outweigh the positive. For instance, I could be cured of all diseases, but I don't have any diseases, so why would that help me? On the other hand, I could gain a random disease, and that would suck. It could have an ooze in the pool, which is a type of monster, about a medium-powered monster, that I don't feel like dealing with right now, so that would suck. I could gain 1 to 10 points of strength, dexterity, or intelligence, but I could also lose 1 to 10 points of strength, dexterity, or intelligence, so that's kind of a wash as far as what I would gain. My items could rust. Up to 2 of my objects could be essentially destroyed. I don't want that. I could drop all my items and dump in. At least I'd be able to avoid that effect. There could be sunken treasure. I could find gold or gems. I may therefore do it a little later. I could sink and take damage equal to the number of inventory slots I've used. In this case it would be 5. But again, I could drop all the items and at least I wouldn't sink and take any damage. Or I could be healed back up to my maximum health. But given my health is already pretty high, and I don't want to risk gaining a disease, for the moment I'm not going to do it. Over here we see some gems. We talked about those earlier. Just like gold, except for I can carry an infinite amount. And if I walk over and step on it and ask me if I want to pick them up, I say yes. And boom, I got gems. Here they are right here. Gems, I have 18 of them. Now, if you remember, one of my character's powers is gem cutting advanced. Any gems that I find are worth double the value. Normally, on level 1, if I find gems or if I find gold, there's only 1 to 10 gold worth there. But because of my gem cutting skill, when I picked those up, I actually found 18, so that's a pretty good deal. Sorry, I'm having trouble adjusting my mic just to the right angle. I don't have mic boost on this, so if it's not close to my mouth, you won't hear me, and if it's too close to my mouth, you get that weird sort of hissing sound that we're kind of getting here. I'm going to tuck it up beside my nose. Hopefully that's still working. Okay. Up here we see some wards. Again, monsters cannot cross them. But what are these? These are gemmed walls. You'll see these once in a while, as if you're in a mine, say. You'll see gems in the wall you could mine out. Sometimes you'll see veins of gold running through walls. Why they're here in this this pre-made area, this area that somebody obviously designed this wall and stuck gems in it. I don't know, maybe it was decorative. But in any case, if I wanted to get them out, gosh darn this darned mic. Tell me that's a good position. Hopefully that's a good position. Hopefully you can still hear me. If I wanted to get these out, I would actually have to try to mine the gems out. Now there is a skill called mining. It is a general skill. I am completely untrained in it, which means if I tried to get that stuff out, I'd be really clumsy about it. Sometimes you can find objects that help you out too, like pickaxes would make it easier to mine, but I don't have one of those. But if we point at it, we get all the details we need. The chance that I would actually successfully mine those gems out is a mere 25%. If I got my mining skill up high enough, I think it would go as high as 90% odds I'd be successful. And if I fail, there's actually a penalty. The roof would collapse. There'd be a cave-in. That would erase my map. So again, it wouldn't change the structure of the area, but I would forget what's over here, essentially. But on top of that, I would also take 3 to 9 damage. And I don't want that to happen right now. So to me, it is not worth the risk to try to mine these things out right now. But if I had mining skill, especially given my gem cutting ability, there could be a small fortune right there. So that would be a great thing to build up for this character, potentially. For now, though, we're going to walk on by. Oh, one other effect of mining skill, beyond making it easier for you to mine stuff out of the wall intentionally, even if you're not trying to mine out a wall, sometimes you get cave-ins. You're just walking around and all of a sudden the roof falls in on you. The whole place is kind of unstable. Those are exactly like pit traps, though. They are. This square could, for instance, be a cave-in, and we wouldn't know it. You can't see it unless you have a map that lets you see it. And if we stepped in that square, again, our map would be erased and we'd take a certain amount of damage. But if you have mining skill, there is a chance that you can avert the effects of cave-in. The same way that disarming lets you avoid the effects of booby traps sometimes. Mining skill lets you avoid the effects of cave-ins sometimes. Let's see what's up here. Nice big empty room. And we're beyond that locked door, so we didn't actually have to try to bash it down after all. And we're not going to now. There is an object over here. My health is now relatively high, so I'm going to risk grabbing it up. And it's an unknown potion. The question then would be, do I want that potion or this this wand of light healing? I don't think we talked about the wand, did we? I think I mentioned earlier that I was wrong in the wand stats, but the bottom line is, with my basic wand lore, if I tried to use this thing right now, there'd be a 50% chance that it would actually do what it says it's going to do, which would be restore 3 to 6 health. There'd be another 50% chance, though, it would do nothing. All it would do is absorb a charge. You'll see when you point at the wand, it does tell you how many charges it has. Currently 4. But we don't necessarily need to do that. It can heal up to 6 health, and we're not missing 6 health, so I'm not going to waste a charge just yet. But given there are so many recharge stations on this level, I guarantee you I'm not going to be dumb enough to leave without trying to use that wand this time. Let's go over to the temple, drop off our gems. Oh, we forgot about that damn weapon merchant. Did I want anything from him? Too late now. I can grab this gold, though. Let's grab that. 9 gold pieces. There's this paper thing here. Let's find out if it's a trap or if it's something useful. Ah, it is something useful. I'm not going to pick it up. As you can see, it says scroll. You find a mid-power scroll, but your inventory is full. So it's actually dropped it there in the square for me because I haven't got any inventory slots open. But let's take a look at what that scroll is. Mid-power scroll. It says this scroll would have an unknown effect if used. Advanced runic lore would allow you to identify it. So scrolls are a lot like potions. If I picked one up, it's a one-shot deal. It would be a blue item in my inventory. If I used it, that would be it. It would be gone. It has one effect. And it would contain some form of spell. It wouldn't matter what the spell was. Even if I had no spell points, even if I didn't know that spell, the scroll lets me cast it once by left-clicking the scroll. The thing is, it's an unknown scroll. The reason it's unknown, whoops, let's not pick that up, is because there is a skill called runic lore, which is very much like alchemy, except for instead of letting you identify potions, it lets you identify scrolls. If we got a runic lore skill up, as we probably will a little later, if we survive, if we did that, then it would, what was I saying? Oh, it would tell me what the scroll would do before I used it, so I'd know if I want to carry it around or not. It can be a very useful skill to get up. For now, though, we don't know what it is. One thing I will point out about it, though, oops, I do want to at least look at it. Incidentally, in case that wasn't clear, if you step on this square here, or you can just pass your turn on a square where a little backpack is, then it gives you the option if you want to retrieve them. We say yes, it gives us this retrieve screen, and all you have to do is left-click an item here and it'll pick it up. But it does tell you it's mid-power. As I said, there are 3 powers of spells: low power, mid-power, and high power. We at least know whatever the scroll is, it has a mid-power spell in it, so it'd be a decent spell. Like potions, though, scrolls can be bad. There can be curses on them. Sometimes they're essentially like traps. You pick it up, you read the words on the scroll, and something horrible happens. So if you don't have your runic lore skill up there, it can be a risk to try and read a scroll. Let's see what this thing does. Lovely. It is a trap. A booby trap. It says you are not strong enough to stop the spiked lowering ceiling, which does 6 points of damage. In this case, a specific trap, you see by the little graphic here, was a ceiling coming down with spikes out of it. And if I was strong enough, I might have actually been able to avert it. Some of the traps give you that chance. There are certain times darts will fly out at you, and if your dexterity is high enough, you'll actually dodge it. In this case, I wasn't strong enough to actually stop it from coming down on me, so I took 6 points of damage. But 6 points of damage is not enough to kill me. I've still got 20 health, so we're okay. Now, unfortunately, I'm gonna put the damn gold in here. Oh, I shouldn't have done that. Oh well. Unfortunately, I'm probably gonna have to pass this magic archway, and if it drains my experience, I'll be really pissed off. I do have one option I could take rather than do that, and that is I could drop all my items, jump in these pools, and hope I find treasure, use that treasure to try to level up fast. But I doubt I'm gonna find 50 gold worth, so it's probably not gonna work, and maybe there'll be an ooze or something in there that I don't want to deal with. I don't want to be trapped on a level with this higher level monster, so I'm gonna ignore the pools for now. And I'm gonna take my chances. Here we go. Let's hope this is something not upsetting to me. Ah, spell increase. It actually gave me back spell points. What We are now at 40 spell points again. Even though we cast Light Healing earlier, all our spell points are back. So it was actually a good thing. And now, as you'll see, the archway is no longer magical. I can just walk through it as if nothing was there. Here's one of those heavy doors. We walk through it. And Mother of Pearl. This is an open, poison, spiked pit. Now, just like that open pit we saw on the first map, I could try to jump over it. If I tried, I'd have a 10% chance because I'm so weak. It's a long jump. If I succeeded, I'd be on this side of the pit. But we know, to be honest, when I come back, I'm going to have to try to jump over it again. I don't think I want the hassle. If I did fall in, I would take 4 to 10 damage. That's a lot of damage. And there's a 100% chance that I become poisoned. When you're poisoned, your health drops every 10 turns by a certain amount. I don't remember what that amount is. I think it's 10% of your maximum health or something like that. Until the poison goes away. Poison can sometimes just dissipate on its own if you wait long enough. Otherwise, I'd have to cast Cure Poison, which I could do. We know I have that spell and I have enough spell points. But I'm not going to try. It's not worth the risk to me to try and cross that damn pit. And since I see no other way on, we're left with a choice. Do we start mining this crap? I don't think so. Do we jump in the pools? I don't think so. I think I'm almost done here. But as promised, I'm not going to leave stupidly this time. I'm going to go up beside this recharge station. And I'm going to start trying to use my Wand of Lighting. So if I left click it, I have a 50% chance. Is that right? I think it's a 50% chance because my basic wand lore. 50% chance that it'll work. 50% chance it'll just say it failed. Let's find out. So it failed. And as you see, the charges dropped from 4 to 3. But I can keep trying. As long as there are charges in there, I'm allowed to keep trying. So I'm just going to keep doing that. It failed. It failed. And it cast the spell. And we got back 4 health. Now I'm going to step on this recharge station because I know it'll give me that option. Recharge a wand, staff, or rod. Yeah, I want to do that. And it'll let me now click which one I want to work on. I only have one option, but I'm going to click on it. And boom, you'll see it has 6 charges again. At the same time, you'll see the recharge station stopped glowing. It stopped humming. It's no longer of any use. I'm going to start using this damn wand again, though. Fail, fail. There we go. How are we doing here? How's our health? I can still afford a little more, so I'm going to keep going. Fail. And that's probably going to put me back to maximum. Actually, automatically it will. Yes. I have 30 health. But I'm still going to recharge the wand again before I leave this level, because there's this recharge station right here. Do we want to use it? Yep. And there we go. Alright. We're a little closer to getting up a level. We have this nice shiny wand with us. But I think we're done here for now. So I'm going to call this a video, and then we're going to head down to the next dungeon level. As a matter of fact, I'll head down there first, and then we'll start a new video once we're there. Here we go, on dungeon level 2. As you'll see, the walls and floors changed again. Just cosmetic. Alright, I'll see you again in a minute.